All right. Well, I guess we'll get right into it then. Rings all its max and whatnot. I don't have to wait for my live stream to catch up so I can mute it. Was hoping to do some fun things like playing guitar and whatnot, but I went to there we go, Gotcha. I caught it before it started. I went to Sludge Report, which is not up right now because Sludge Report had a big headline that said, "Oh, Trump wants the economy to crash." And that was their big headline. And it was misspelled in two different places. And that was their big headline. And between the last 15 minutes of me doing this and going back to it, the page refreshed itself. And now there's no story there anymore. Now it's a different story about something Chris Christie is doing. 10 minutes ago, there was a very misspelled story on the front. Oh, I suppose I have to share it. Present. Oh, I don't like the way that this works anymore. George Report. Present that. So 10 minutes ago, there was a thing here that said in very broken English, the Trump the bad man because he want crash economy. Duh. Economy duh. And I don't care. I don't care about Trump. I don't care about anything with politics. But this is flipping hilarious. The lengths and the amount of money. It's like, who do you think, who has the amount of money to just buy out every single media organization out there? It's not the government. It's the Federal Reserve. And who are the people who are involved in the Federal Reserve? These weirdo, really left-leaning Democrat people who want you to eat the bugs and all of this. As soon as they realize that, gee, we have like 4 or 5 typos in our main line, within 10 minutes, they switch that to being a Chris Christie thing. Nobody cares about Chris Christie. There's a lot of Trump supporters out there, but nobody cares about Chris Christie. But Chris Christie is Chris Christie's not going to endorse anybody. Well, who cares? He's a failed candidate, right? Didn't he run for president and fail? Yeah. So this article is like we got to put something up because we totally screwed up on that last one. Okay. Josh Rubio, how you doing, man? I was going to play some guitar, but I only got about a half hour before I got to like do dinner and some other things around here. So I thought we'd just look at some news because I thought it was funny that I go to the old Drudge Report, which was taken over by Jacobins about 5 years ago. Matt Drudge sold it, and it's been nothing but absolute pure hatred and shit ever since then. But it's gotten even exponentially even worse now because it's this is election year, right? And I'll go into it, but it's kind of hilarious. I'm not a guy who even supports Trump. I mean, that guy wanted to he okayed the printing of $3 trillion. Now, you can blame that on Trump about inflation and all that, but the president has nothing to do with the money. That is entirely the legislature and the representatives of your state. It has nothing to do with the president. The president gives the okay or something like that after it already goes through committees. It's not by him. He cannot. I don't think the president can actually initiate a bill by himself. No, it has to go through a congressman. Obviously, they're all friends and they're all whatever. But you can't blame it on Trump. He was the guy who okayed it. But there was, what do we got? 110 senators. Well, there's only 50 states, so there'd be 100 senators. And we have something like, 2,800 or 3,000 representatives. They all voted on that stuff. Doesn't have to do with Trump. He was the guy that okayed it. He said, well, if everybody wants it, here we go. And, that's how that is. Drudge has turned into clickbait. Well, Matt Drudge has always been clickbait, but it was very, very, very conservative leaning before. And now it's comically communist. I mean, like, it's comically communist. I don't know how best other to describe it. Anyways, we'll look at this is the interview or the article that they had linked to that they completely screwed up how to spell because people, diversity hire or whatever you want to say. The very main headline of one of the most visited web pages on the planet. Matt Drudge used to be, I think, number one. Probably not anymore now that it's been taken over. But the number one thing, and there's like 4 misspelling errors in there to make them look like complete retards. We'll share. What do we got? Here we go. I think it linked to this article from CNBC. Biden slams Trump as revealing twisted true colors after Trump says he hopes the economy crashes in 2024. Well, I hope it crashes too. Does anyone out there not hope it crashes? I'm kind of curious. I'm like, do we just keep limping along? Do we really want to keep limping along, making $10 an hour, pretending that, your standard of living is actually improving? Do we really want to do that? Or do we want to let it all break the hell down and let the market figure it out for itself? I know a lot of people don't want to let it break down. The White House took aim at Trump before saying he hoped the economy would crash this year rather than during his theoretical second term. Well, isn't that obvious? I mean, like, why would you call somebody out for that? He's like, if the economy is going to crash, I want it to be under Joe Biden, not under me. Seems pretty logical. But oh my gosh, it's Donald Trump. It's Donald Trump. It's terrible. Oh, it's Donald Trump. Oh, whatever. The Biden administration used Trump's remarks to tout Bidenomics victories and to draw a contrast with the economy under Trump. I want to ask everybody, I mean, I don't care about politics. The government is going to do what they want to do. But are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Are you making more money now than you were 4 years ago? How is that $3 can of soup that you want to buy at the grocery store? How is that going? Are you better off now? Bidenomics. Let's start a war with Russia, who we have no reason to go to war with at all. Let's back the weirdo Israelis who want to try and ethnically cleanse the area that they have no reason. They don't own the land. I know there's a lot of Bible believing people out there like, God said they could have that land. And it's like, well, not the way that's going on, because Arabs live there and it was gifted to the Israelis way, way, way back when in 1947. It was gifted. And you look at the little sliver of land they were given. So at all the Israelis who were displaced in Poland and Germany and all these places, they had a place to go. And what did they do? They went and conquered all these people. They went into your backyard, pitched a tent, and he said, okay, you can stay here for a bit. And then they got out of their tent and went and killed your family and kicked you out of your house and stole your house. That's what the Israelis did. Unpopular opinion. Okay, it's a very unpopular opinion. But if you want to say that Israel, the state, corporation, has a right to all the land that the Bible says they have, you're wiping out Egypt, you're wiping out Yemen, You're wiping out Iran, all of those places. And are Israelis actually Jews? You got to question that. You get too much more into the war thing. I don't like to see people getting killed, especially not people in a concentration camp in that thing called the Gaza Strip. The economy has shown promising signs of recovery over the past couple of months, though consumers in early polling say they have yet to feel the relief and have blamed Biden. Well, who else are you going to blame? It's been 4 years. Who else are you going to blame? I would say your representatives and your senators, but they never seem to get voted out. Like nobody. Nancy Pelosi is one of the most corrupt people that's been around, and she's been in there for like 35 years, made an entire career, and she is the number one most profit-making stock investor in the history of the world. How does that happen? How? And you have to consider that all these other senators and representatives have inside information too. But she's number one. She's above BlackRock. She's above all these other people as far as making return on investment. I don't know. Question mark? I don't know. The economy expanded for several years under Trump, but experienced a significant crash while he was still in office. Oh no. White House took aim at former President Donald Trump after the Republican presidential candidate frontrunner. Is he a frontrunner? Is Donald Trump a frontrunner? Are you guys Donald Trump fans? There's like JFK Jr., Robert RFK Jr. is running. Some other people too. I'm not a big Trump guy, but he said he had hoped the economy would crash this year rather than during his theoretical second term. Obviously. I mean, is this even newsworthy? Like, if I want something, here's the thing people don't understand is the economy is going to crash. It is. There is nothing anybody can do to stop it. It is. It already has. The economy, we've been in a recession for like 2 years. Nobody will admit it, but we haven't had that big, we haven't had the big thump. And Trump is just saying, well, the thump is going to happen on Biden's, and then I'll come in and fix it. That's what I would want the president to say. But the president has no control over the economy. Really doesn't, unless he wants to go to war. Well, how many wars are we in right now? Gee. How many wars are we in right now to try and boost the economy? Imagine that. A commander-in-chief's duty is to always put the American people first. How many people believe that, huh? Never hope that hardworking families suffer economic pain for their own political benefit. All right. King Stable, how you doing? What is it, 437? I know you like talking politics, Frank. I'd throw a thing on there. Bacon toast. Trump's a Jesuit, a sun worshiper. Don't trust you don't trust politicians, period. RFK Jr. is a globalist shill. Yeah, but I mean, who else are you going to vote for? What do you call that? The lesser of two evils. We vote for the lesser of two evils, as long as we're voting for a little evil as opposed to a big evil. But you do have to say that under Joe Biden, in the last 4 years, everything has gone to absolute shit. I mean, look at the flippin' borders. That's disgraceful. That people who are coming in across from anywhere in South America, they get better benefits than people who have worked their entire lives in America. They come in here and they get their check and they get their plane ticket and they say, you know, Javier Gutierrez is my cousin, and they fly off to Chicago or something, and they get $2,000 a month. And then they get a court thing that says, in order to make sure you're a citizen, please show up in 6 years. Here's your court date. And here's your driver's license, and this is the key to your hotel room. That's under Joe Biden. Yeah. I will actually throw it up while I talk because I only have a few minutes that I can do this. So that's the thing if you want to come on and talk about politics or whatever. I wanted to talk about finance, but I don't think I'll have the time for it. So anyway, like I said, the original article was on Sludge Report, and it was completely misspelled. It was the top banner. Everything was out of context. They didn't have the adjectives right, and everything was wrong. And by the time I posted the video, because I wanted to talk about it, it was already down. And now they're talking about Chris Christie, and nobody cares about that guy. Like, nobody. So I went and did some more research, and I just put in the title of what they say. I'll have to reshare. Stop screen, present. Trump says the economy will collapse. Okay, share. Okay, so this is the gist of the article. To let everybody know how taken over the media is, and it's like, it's okay to be taken over, but it's completely taken over by communists. It's completely taken over by crazy people. Like, there is no, it's 100%. There isn't any conservative anything. And people will say Twitter or something like that. No, Elon Musk is a lefty. That's where he gets all his money. The only like real thing you can get news from is actually going to another country, which is what I've been doing. When I look at news, they say something happens in Ukraine or they say something happens in Russia. You go to the Russian news and see what they have to say about it. But we'll see. Everyone can see on the screen exactly what I said. Trump say economy collapses. See, I used perfect spelling just like Drudge Report did. Trump say. Right. All right. Well, we'll look at where the articles come from. CNBC, which is the article I pulled up, Rolling Stone, CNN, Fortune Magazine, The Hill, USA Today, The Independent, Business Insider, Yahoo News, Forbes, every single one is we need Bidenomics. And this is everything on Google. Everything. Guess what? Biden's going to win a second term. So it's going to happen. You can get ready for your CBDCs and all your stuff that is out there. 100% controlled, the media. 100%. Controlled by one side. And even in this picture, CNBC, I'll try and bring it back up. This new StreamYard thing I don't like. This one. I guess I'm presenting myself. Well, that didn't work. This one. All right. Everybody knows in the entire world that Joe Biden is a senile old man. Everybody. Even in this picture that's trying to badmouth Trump, And is Trump even in the running? As far as I know, he's not. Did he actually throw his hat in the ring? I don't know. But they're still going after Trump. Look at the picture of Joe Biden. Like that's the guy that you're running. The last 4 years have been horrible. 2022 was the worst year in the history of finance ever. Since America began. 2022 was the worst year ever in finance. It's under Joe Biden. Obviously, the Federal Reserve runs a lot of this stuff, but to be the worst year in the history of the country? Now, granted, we're not doing as bad as Germany, but we don't have the little mustache. And, you know, we're not looking to go take out Poland. America is supposed to be the shining beacon or whatever. This is what happens when Jacobins and communists get in control. There are people say there's no such thing as a free lunch. Let me tell you, in Minnesota, that if you have a child that goes to a public school, you get a free lunch. It doesn't matter if you're poor. It doesn't matter if you make millions of dollars a year. You get a free lunch. On whose dollar? It's easy to say everyone's dollar, but it's going off the dollar the guy who makes minimum wage down at the store. And who are these people who need free lunches in a lot of these cases? A lot of these illegal people who are coming across the border. We'll give you a $2,000 check. There you go. Oh, you've got 6 kids. Okay. Send them off to public school. They'll feed them. Keep them alive for a bit. The whole thing is like upsetting and disgusting, and I don't like it. And, you know, I was hoping to have more fun on the stream, but then I ran into this is why Democrats can't do memes. They don't even know how to spell. Like, I went to Drudge Report, totally taken over by absolute raving Jacobins. And it was completely misspelled. And that Trump does heat up there, with completely wrong adjectives and completely wrong everything. And then I go and click on it and I read through the article, and then I go back to Drudge and they change it to Chris Christie. Apparently there's one guy with a brain cell there. But the whole point being is like, it's really, really, really early in the election thing. And if the biggest topic you have to talk about is how Donald Trump wishes that the economy crashes before he gets into office so we can fix it, I would be championing that as the like, I can't wait for Joe Biden to crap on everything so I can go in there and fix it and show how good of a person I am. These people are so stupid. They don't realize they're feeding ammunition to their enemy. That's how dumb they are. That's just how I see it. That's just how I see it. Take a look at chat here for a minute. Anyone wants to come on and talk, you can go ahead and come on. Frank's on. Add to stage. You're on, Frank.
Yo, how's it going? Can you not hear me?
No, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Good.
How you been, man?
No, I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Maybe it's my microphone, but
What
keep talking.
Do you have headphones or something like that?
Yeah, now it's working. I think it just I have to wiggle it around to get a better connection sometimes. So.
Oh, okay. Well, cool.
But it's working now.
Well, good. Well, your politics sucks in Canada, so I guess you guys pay attention to what's going on in America.
Yeah, there's more stuff. Well, what do you expect from a country that cheered on a Nazi in their parliament, right?
Oh, so. What is he? Justin Castro or something? You guys still got up there?
Yeah, he's still
And they
in power.
didn't he get voted back in?
No, not recently.
I thought he
Well,
got voted back in after the trucker strike. He still got voted back in.
no, they didn't have an election at that time yet.
Oh, he suspended the election.
No. What happened was they called an early election before that all happened. Then he got voted in. This was like during COVID anyway. And so, yeah, that's when he got in. But it sounds like they might be calling for an election this spring sometime.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure he's going to get revoted.
Oh, 100%. I've got no faith in this country.
Biden's going to get back into, and they'll just wheel him out in a little chair. And then they'll say, look, he looks just like Roosevelt in his little wheelchair. And he'll sit there with the drool in his mouth and be like, and then they'll have some girl up there next to him going, what President Biden says is free money for everybody. Yay. And they'll wheel him back out again.
Yep. Well, it's just so bizarre how people are so easily.
No, it's free money. I mean, they saw this in America. I don't know how familiar you are with it, like our founding fathers, but I think it was Jefferson who said that after they put everything together, he said, once the people realize they can vote themselves money, that's going to be the end of the country.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening.
Yep.
Vote ourselves money. And during the baby boomer time, they were kind of living off of the World War II generation that made all the money for everybody. The baby boomers kind of rode the coattails for a bit, but the baby boomers who never had to work for anything are like, well, it's good to feed the children and good to feed the homeless and good to feed these people and good to do this and good to do that. And we need to give the teachers more money and we need to do this and we need to. And they don't care because they make ridiculous amounts of money for the little amount of work that they do. So they're like, yeah, well, whatever. I make $60 an hour. If I have to pay an extra $1 for my taxes, they don't care. Yeah. But that never goes away. The next generation comes in and they're not making $60 an hour. They're making $10 an hour. And now 30% of that, so $3 goes to the state now because of the baby boomers and everybody else who just thought free money.
Yep.
And they're all indoctrinated in the university system where no one can actually think. You know, you got a 4-year degree. It's like you're dumber than a guy who's like in 7th grade. That's the way that I look at it. Not always the case, but it seems like it's the case.
Well, in Canada, even it's all these carbon taxes and everybody's struggling. So then everybody's so happy when the government is like offering a little bit of money back, and then everybody's so happy about it. It's just like, well, then why did he take so much if he's giving it back? Right?
Oh, yeah. We'll have a 10% carbon tax, but guess what? We're going to have a tax rate cut of 1.5%. Oh, yay!
Yeah.
That's so great. Like,
and nobody realized they just lost a whole bunch of money.
I don't know. I mean, what do you think in Canada? Your tax rate must be about 45%, right?
Oh yeah, I would not doubt that it's that high. Yeah.
Well, in Minnesota, it's about 45%.
Well, then ours is probably higher.
No, I'm talking about
because we got healthcare that we have to pay for yet.
That's true. I'm talking about like if you actually have a wage that you I think it's $28,000 a year in Minnesota. I can only speak to Minnesota. Like $28,000 a year, you're considered poor if you make less than that.
Yeah,
I haven't made more than $28,000 a year in like 20 years. But like, if you make slightly over that, you don't qualify for free healthcare. You don't qualify for food stamps. You don't qualify for anything. So what's the incentive at $28,000 a year, which is like $14 an hour, $15 an hour? What is your incentive to actually try and make more? Wouldn't your incentive be to be like try and make $12 an hour so you can get all your tax money back and just live off the state, as opposed to try and make $17 an hour? You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And like the whole tax bracket itself doesn't make any sense to me. The more money you make, the more they're going to take off, right? Like if you're in a certain tax bracket, you're fine. But the second you cross that line, they take off a whole bunch more. It's like, how does that even work? Like, how is that even logical?
It's called a progressive tax rate, and that was one of the key tenets of Marxism. There's like 10 or 12 tenets of Marxism. One of those tenets is to have a progressive tax rate. And I found this out 25 years ago when I worked for the university. I did some really good work and saved them millions of dollars. And they gave me like a $5 an hour raise. And I went from paying 30% taxes to 45% taxes. And it's like, yeah, I'm still making more money, but all that money just goes to the state, and like if another 15%, I mean, like, wow. Once you cross, like, I think it was back in the day, once you cross like $42,000 a year, all of a sudden it's like you're just working for the state. Everything just goes to the state. Which is why on here sometimes I try and tell people is like, you want to avoid that stuff and take advantage of it while you can. And I think the biggest money making thing that I ever said to anybody was just buy a freezer and put food in it. I mean, this year I figure I've saved about $2,000 or $3,000 in food, with the food prices going up and buying things when they're on sale, throwing it in the freezer and stuff like that. I mean, a thing of chicken, like a pack of chicken, a big jumbo family thing, used to cost about $2, and now it's like $4.50 or something. I mean, there's all these things you can do to make money, and of course, I'm obviously into finance and stuff, but it's like the only way you get out of this trap, because it's never been like this before, is to actually have, investments, whether it be property or trying to be a minimalist, living off the grid, or having a freezer with food in it. You have to do something. Otherwise, you're screwed.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not Donald Trump's fault. It's not Joe Biden's fault. It's just the government at large. You've got thousands upon thousands of people to blame. And everyone, of course, is going to poke a thing. Well, it's all Pfizer's fault, and it's all Raytheon, and it's all these guys. And it's like, no, you're the people. It's your fault.
Yeah.
You're voting in people who are on the dole for Pfizer. Why are you voting them in? Nancy Pelosi is just out of my mind.
Yeah.
Like, it's completely obvious to me that people are just dumb. If Nancy Pelosi can sit in office for 35 years and doing what she's doing, how does she stay there? Just more free money, we open the border and get the Mexicans in here and just give them free money. Keep me in. And that was what Ben Franklin talked about when they wrote the Constitution. Is like, well, this is the way it's going to be. And, my only thing with that is like, who writes a Constitution where they actually write in the Constitution where bribery is legal? They actually put it in the Constitution to where corporations can bribe officials, call them lobbyists. And their justification was, well, they're going to do it anyway. It's like, well, if you put in the Constitution that anyone who is caught taking a bribe will be executed in the Constitution, nobody's probably going to be taking a bribe.
Yep. Unless they would work around that, because what I find is strange, like even in Canada, America, you got all these laws, but nobody seems to abide by them, and nobody seems to get punished, right? Like, they're just going around. Like when I watch some of the stuff in Canada and in the US, like the Senate and House and Parliament and stuff like that, none of these people that are in high power have to really answer any questions. I can't answer that because it's still under investigation. Oh, yeah. Right. So the investigations never end, and the country is getting more and more ruined because of it. Right.
Well, whatever happened to, Epstein? I don't know. Still under investigation.
Yeah. Well, even January 6th. Well, what's with this guy? Well, it's still under investigation. It's like, what the heck? Like, well, see, that's their loophole that they can use. Like, they never have to actually end this. And they never actually have to give any information about it.
No,
it's an amazing thing. And anybody that comes in, let's just say if Trump or some other Republican that was half decent, and even in Canada too, if Pierre Poilievre would all of a sudden win, that's what they should focus on first and foremost. Some radical changes to the laws.
Ain't gonna happen, man.
No, it's not. At least I have no faith in them to do that. So.
the only way that's going to happen is hopefully the economy crashes. And, I'm sandbagged for that. At the current moment, though, everyone wants to say the economy is booming and everything is great. We've grown by 200,000 jobs and blah, blah, blah in all these years. And you look at it and the figures are the government hired 1.5 million new government workers.
Yep.
And they lost 700,000 jobs in the private sector. So your net positive is 200,000. So the government is sucking off the people more.
Mm-hmm.
There is no actual jobs out there for anybody.
Well, they hired, what did they say, like 83,000 extra FBI agents?
That was IRS agents.
Yeah, IRS agents, like cheaper as like government, right?
That didn't go through because they didn't have the money for it.
Oh.
I mean, it went through, but they couldn't hire anybody with money for it. And that's what I see as being a positive thing, is that when America now doesn't have any money, and hopefully things can get redone now, and hopefully things do collapse. Because I'm not on the inner city train where I'm living off the dole and in a crappy apartment or something like that. I'm pretty okay. But like I said, I got my freezer. I'm going to get chickens next year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're going to have some chickens. I just put my fence up this year. I'm going to have my palisade and keep all the criminals out, whatever. And I'm kind of set to go. And I've got cryptocurrency and these things. And they've been attacking me. But I can't wait for everything to fall apart so we can just kind of get reset, because this is ridiculous. The only jobs that are out there right now are government jobs. The government seems to want to be hiring everybody.
Yep.
And it's like, well, who the hell is paying for that? They're paying $1 trillion just in interest on the debt that they have, which is more than the defense budget. So it's in the budget's only going up. It's an unlimited budget right now. And so it'll be 2 trillion next year, 3.5 trillion the year after that, 4 trillion after that. I mean, that can't continue. And what are you going to do about it? The only thing you can do is cut all this benefit stuff, and no one's going to like that.
Nope.
I came to the country yesterday with my 7 kids, and I want my $2,000 check in the mail for showing up. I mean,
well, if somebody was to have 7 kids in Canada right now, it's $500 per kid that they get. Yeah. Do you think they're going to vote somebody in that's going to get rid of that? At least in Manitoba, from what I understand, in Manitoba, well, we talked to my neighbors. They get it. So we know it's $500.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it's amazing. Yeah.
I mean, in America, there's the idea that we're paying for it, but really we're not. I mean, they just print money out of nothing and do it.
Yeah.
And then you pay like it used to be like 0.01%, but now it's like 6-7% you're paying on the debt. So now you're actually paying money for all these things. But they can keep going for another 10 or 15 years and just keep placating to the masses. But as soon as they don't get their food stamps, man, they're going to be rioting in the streets.
Yep.
And
have you heard anything about that country that elected that very conservative guy? What was that?
Was it Argentina?
I think so. Aren't they really mad at him right now?
I don't know.
Because he says it's going to hurt a lot of people to get them out of this debt that they're in.
Oh yeah, he kicked everybody off everything. Well, Argentina has been, nobody thought that guy would win. I'm pretty sure it's Argentina. Nobody thought that guy would win because there were so many Jacobins and communists that were just like sucking off society that people got so sick of it that they elected a guy who said he would throw them all out, and he threw them all out.
Yeah.
Whatever they could do. I mean, they have a different government system, obviously, than America or Canada or something. I guess if you're a dictator or whatever you are in Argentina, the premier or something like that, you can actually just shit can everybody.
Yeah.
And that's what he went in there and did.
Yeah.
And cut off all the stuff. I mean, Argentina is one of the only countries that I'm aware of that's been through hyperinflation like 3 times in the last 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hyperinflation is bad. Okay. $1 for a loaf of bread. You go in there the next day, it's $3. You go in there the next day, it's $9. You go in there the next day, it's $340.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how bad Argentina was. And so the people hired that guy, and I'm not up to date as to what's going on with it, but I'm familiar with it. Obviously, Israel has been dominating the news and Ukraine and things, but my biggest thing about all these other countries that nobody ever hears about is El Salvador. Nobody wants to talk about El Salvador, and it's like you got Bukele, who's like a 35-year-old dude who they decided to make the president. He says, okay, Bitcoin's going to be our national currency. And he went around, Bitcoin's the national currency. All right, rock on. Now we have a crime problem. Here's what we're going to do. Anyone with any gang affiliation, we're just going to throw them in jail. He went around and he rounded up like 200,000 gang members.
Wow.
Throw them in jail. El Salvador is the safest place in the world right now because he locked everybody up. And El Salvador is one of the most prosperous places as far as their economy is going because he invested in Bitcoin, and the price of Bitcoin's gone up 300% this year. So he's doing Bitcoin mining and all these things, and has their own little utopia or something going on there. But El Salvador used to be one of the literal biggest shitholes on the planet. People would say like North Korea or something like that. El Salvador was almost at the top of the list. And it went from being that to one of the most prosperous places like Dubai. Okay. If El Salvador is the next Dubai, that's where I want to be. No snow? All right. Doing Bitcoin? All right. And that's the kind of change that needs to take place. And unfortunately, America is just too big. And people are too dumb here, where we would never be able to make that change. We would never be able to elect somebody like Ron Paul. It just would never happen. There's too many figures in place, and people are too stupid, and people are like, well, he said he's going to give me $1,000 check if I vote for him, which is literally how the American system works. Donald Trump, I think, even did that, right? He was like, I'm going to give $1,000 to every American because of COVID-19, blah, blah, blah. And that's what kind of gets me about this country is that, like, I'm not a big Trump fan, but like, why would you not vote for Trump, who gave you all this money, let you sit home and watch Netflix and do nothing, and he gave you $1,000 every like 3 months or something like that just to keep going? And I'm like, why wouldn't you vote for that guy?
Yeah.
Why is he evil? Those things just boggle my mind. But it's going to take a very big crash, and I hope it happens, because people in America are getting screwed right now. A lot of people don't think that, but like, oh, we're the Americans, and you have such a higher standard of living than everyone else. And it's like, where have you been for the last 15 years?
Yeah.
Because when I was like, from personal experience, I'm not very trained in anything, but working at the help desk for the University of Minnesota Physicians, I made like at the end, I made like $23 an hour after like 4 years. So it would be like early 2000s, something like that. Well, you can't get a job for $23 an hour today. You got to have like, 20 years experience, a 4-year degree, and a doctorate. And it's like, for a $23 an hour job, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, early 2000s, there was jobs everywhere. You could go work at Burger King for $17 an hour, right? No experience. Go in there, $17 an hour. Guess what? You can go into Burger King today. They're going to pay you $15. Like, how does that work? After 20 years, you're paying less.
Yeah.
Granted, now I'm sure in the cities they make $20 an hour because that's probably the minimum wage. But like out here in the country, it's like $15 an hour. I'm like, who the hell is going to show up for that? It's ridiculous. Oh, I'm going to get my 15-cent raise after a year. Like, okay, right? I don't. The economy is totally screwed and going down and down and down. And all I can do is laugh as I watch my Bitcoin go from, I think I was buying 2022. It hit the bottom at 16,000. I've been buying ever since, and now we're at 47,000. So, we're doing good. And anyone who's involved in that stuff is probably doing well as well. And as well as buying food. Because we don't sell Bitcoin and we eat food. Bitcoin's an asset. We can't eat Bitcoin.
Do a lot of places in America take Bitcoin already, or not very much? What?
In the cities they do, but out here, like even where I am, I'm like 50, 60 miles out of the city. I can buy Bitcoin at the local gas station.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't. Places you can. I mean, here's the thing with Bitcoin is like it doesn't matter if the place takes Bitcoin. Most of them won't take Bitcoin, but you can buy a gift card, not a gift card. You can buy a credit card with Bitcoin. So you got $50 of Bitcoin. You can buy an Amazon card, or you can buy just a Visa card with Bitcoin, and then you can take it and use it anywhere. You've always been able to do this. So I put $100 in Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up by 4x. So now I have $400. I can take 200, put it on a credit card, Visa card, and go buy whatever I want and leave the rest on the exchange. It's always been that way. You can buy everything in the world with Bitcoin. You have to go through one extra step. The advantage of actually paying for something with Bitcoin is you don't owe any taxes because it's a commodity. It's like, I want to buy your computer. I have an Apple. Will you trade me your Apple for your computer? Here's your Apple. Give me my computer. There's no taxes on that. You're trading a commodity for a commodity, like for like. So that's why it's beneficial to actually trade in Bitcoin. But no one's ever going to do that. I mean, the easiest thing is to just buy Bitcoin, invest, and then after it goes up a bunch, buy a credit card, and off you go. You got your money. I mean, that's to do it without paying capital gains or anything. I'm not advocating any taxes. I'm just saying, people who are serious investors, like I'm a buyer and hold. I buy and hold, and if I have to sell something, I'll sell something. But I've held everything for four years now, right? So I don't really owe any capital gains. Yeah. But there's a lot of people out there who are wheeling and dealing and like, oh, Bitcoin's at a bottom at 16K. And then when Bitcoin hits 20K, they'll sell. Then they owe capital gains tax. And they just put it in their bank account or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of ways to mess with it. But that's like how traders do it. I'm like, I don't know. I just buy stuff and hold it. It's like, my next thing is I'd like to get some more property and just buy it and hold it. That's what I want to do. I gotta find it.
Are you thinking about, or were you thinking about buying land or?
Well, unfortunately, I have to wait. I was going to go to El Salvador, but I have one surviving family member, my dad, who is pretty up there. And so I'm kind of waiting around until he checks out, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do from there. But I don't want to be in any cold state anymore. I can't stand sitting inside. I can't stand the fact that I've only got 6 hours of sunshine. I have to go plow stuff. That's like literally last year it was 5.5, 6 foot drifts that I had to plow through a couple of times a month. It snowed that much. It sucks. It's terrible. And
trust me, I know.
Oh yeah, I know. I know. They've been really pounding us with I think they're doing they have to be doing weather manipulation because on Christmas in Minnesota it was 50 degrees. That's never happened in history. And we didn't have a snowfall until yesterday. And that's never happened in history either. So they got to be doing something. But
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm going to go live out with my brother in the desert. I love the desert.
So I kind of figured you did have a brother But you said the last remaining surviving family member,
Well,
just in Minnesota, right?
right.
Okay.
Well, I do have a dickhead brother who's in Minnesota, but I don't really want to talk about him. My other brother, who's my middle brother, is in Arizona. He's been there for 30 years probably.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm jealous of him because I've always wanted to live in Arizona. I've been through there a couple of times and I'm like, this is great. 110 degrees outside. Oh, yeah. Let me go. And Sierra Vista is where he's at. And he does a military job. I guess there's a base down there or something like that. So that's where he's been. But my last surviving family member, it used to be 2 until last week. My uncle died. And of course, nobody told me about it. Shows you why I say I only have a couple of family members, right? Because no one bothered to tell me.
That's pretty sad.
Did you know your Uncle Ed died? No, my dad didn't tell me. I talked to him 3 times on the phone because he's old. I try and check up on him. I talked to him 3 times on the phone, and I find out from his helpmate guy who I play guitar with. Oh yeah, your Uncle Ed. We dropped. I had a funeral at the Fort Snelling for him, and I'm like, what? He's dead? Oh yeah, he died last Tuesday. I'm like, what? Anyways, that's how my family is. But, my dad, he's the last one left who's in Minnesota that I really care about. And, whatever happens, I'll have to deal with his estate and whatnot. But I'm definitely getting the heck out of Glencoe. I'm definitely getting the heck out of Minnesota. There's just no way. I can't do it anymore. I'm too old. No. And the communism. I can't take the communism anymore.
Yeah. Minnesota is probably one of the worst states for that.
It is the worst state. And people will say California. I'm like, no. Minnesota's been flying under the radar for a while.
Yeah.
But for the last 20 years, Minnesota is like one of the top 5 most taxed states in America. I think it was number 3. You had LA or California, then you had New York, and then you had Minnesota. And nobody talks about that. Like, where are all these taxes going? Because people in Minnesota, they're not getting paid anymore. They're like California, I think the minimum wage is about $25 an hour. Well, in Minnesota, the minimum wage is the federal minimum wage. It's like 8 or 10 or something. I think they just changed it in Minnesota to be $11 an hour. I'm like, oh boy, with $11 an hour, boy, that gives me $400 a week. And then after 50% taxes, it gives me $200. Wow. So $800, I'm going to go buy food and rent an apartment. No, you're literally living off the dole, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing else you can do. And that's Minnesota. And nobody makes minimum wage in Minnesota, but making $11 an hour isn't any different than making $15 or $16 an hour.
Yeah.
You're not gonna live on that. You're not gonna be able to do anything. Myself, I'll do it because I don't have to pay rent, right? Yeah. So I can kind of get away with it and have my free time to go out and go invest and go do things and make fun YouTube videos or something. But man, the average person is screwed.
Yep.
Unless you're an immigrant, we're like, there you go. Here's your $2,000 a month you get. And your kids get free lunches and free daycare at school. And, you can go work at the packing plant for minimum wage and you get free room and board like they do here. The packing plant here, they actually purchase the hotel. They have a campus and a hotel where they bring people in from Mexico and house them so they can work at their factory for nothing an hour. The whole thing is pretty disgusting, which is one thing I could say about Trump. At least he doesn't like seeing that happen.
Yeah,
it's one good thing, but it's well beyond even being able to fix the problem in America. There's so many people coming across the border that there's out of 300 million people in America, probably 30 million of them are illegal. What are you going to, that's 10% of the population. There's nothing you can do about that at that point. Or you can't deport these people. 30 million people. That's impossible.
Yeah. But hey, they're all women and children, right? All living in poverty, coming out here with rags.
They're not fighting age men.
No, not at all. Yeah, that's insane how they've been getting away with that. But that's just what I mean. Like these guys, they come and they sit before the Senate or the House and they get asked questions, and it just seems like nothing gets answered. It's just
the thing is with the, like when I was talking about what the president does and does not have control over, like the trillions of dollars that Trump gave out to everybody. Well, he didn't do that. The House and the Senate have to approve the money. But when you're talking about the border, that's 100% the president.
Yeah.
Because that is military. They call them Border Patrol agents, but they're effectively a National Guard. I think they're under a federal guideline where they're effectively National Guard. Well, the president, the states control the National Guard, but the president, when you're talking about the borders, actually controls that.
Yeah.
So if the guy wants to build a fence, he goes to Congress to get funding. But if the president wants to be a dick and says shoot everybody on sight, he can do that too, because he's in charge. The National Guard and stuff like that goes back to individual states and who their governor is, but the Border Patrol is, I think, pretty sure is a federal agency, and that's under the president can totally do whatever he wants with that.
Yeah. Well, what do you think of this Ramaswamy guy or whatever his name is? I always get it wrong, but
I hadn't heard about him until the other day, and I did watch a video. You'd have to remind me exactly what his big thing was to kind of get the squirrel going in my brain so I can remember.
Well, he's very much on taking down all like FBI, CIA, taking those things down.
Oh yeah,
and because he figures he can do it day one, he can get rid of these things. You know, he says if you look at the law and how it works, it can happen right away. That it just all gets taken down right away. Because he says they've been weaponized. You can't trust them anymore.
Well, it's been that way since the 1960s.
Yeah, pretty much the day it formed, really.
Anyways, Donald Trump knows all about that stuff, and you know he had told his buddies that he couldn't release any of that information because he'd basically be killed. So
yeah,
that's just how it is. It takes more than one person. Nobody can wait till the next election in 3 years and then we'll have it. Then we'll get our guy. And it's like, that's not the way things work. You really have to. Number one is like people who are like Ron Paul or people who are in the camp of trying to dismember these things. They're never going to get funding or financing to actually be able to run for presidency or even run anything. They'll be shut down right away. They will be prematurely deleted before they even get into a primary, if they're actually considered dangerous. So that just is not going to happen. But like RFK said the same thing. RFK has been all over the place saying, yeah, the CIA prematurely deleted my uncle, and he wants to go in there and get rid of the CIA and the FBI, and guess what? He's never going to get elected, no matter what.
Yeah,
because those organizations run the country. You know, those are the people who are there for life. They're not elected, and that's how it is.
I think this Ramaswamy guy, he's banking on Trump in a lot of ways. He's banking on Trump, like basically saying he's gonna, if he was to get elected, he would pardon Trump on everything. He'd pardon everybody on January 6th, which I don't understand how. Trump didn't do that, but that's, you know, whatever. Because that was still under his watch. He still had power, right?
Well, he wouldn't pardon Julian Assange either.
No, that is very strange to me too. And that's another thing that Ramaswamy said he would do, is he would pardon Julian Assange.
Yeah, so everybody says before they're getting elected. I mean, Donald Trump, like I said, was going to release all of the JFK files. That was his promise as a campaign promise. And he was asked, well, why didn't you release that stuff? And he says, well, I can't really do that. And it's like, well, why not? Well, because they'll kill you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Prematurely delete you. You can't you can't do that.
I wonder how that Ramaswamy guy, whatever his name is, how he would be able to do it. Like, he's saying he can. I guess that's the thing is, right? You can say you can do this, but will you? That's the different
Vivek,
question.
the guy's name is Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah, Vivek. Yeah, he's a very interesting character.
I
Very.
actually haven't heard him speak.
You should check him out, especially at debates. He just goes right into that one woman that's running for Republicans. Calls her out like she's a shill, basically. She's a warmonger because she's about all this. What do you call it? Where they make weapons and stuff like that. That's where her funding is, and that's what she came out of. So she's a warmonger. She's going to just continue with the wars and start more.
Well, everybody is going to do that because it's good for the economy.
Yeah, but if you see, like Trump didn't, right? Like he didn't really start any wars, not anything that they weren't already in.
He escalated the war in Afghanistan.
I'm not sure exactly how that all worked, but yeah, it's possible.
I mean, he didn't start any new wars, but he continued on with the ones that are out there. I mean, the whole thing is like I think we have the largest station of troops is still in the Germany border or something like that. We have just a huge military base, and it's like, we're fighting the East Germans or something. I don't understand this.
Yeah.
And then we have another huge swath of people that are down there in South Korea protecting against the North Korean border. And it's like, well, why do we care if South Korea gets run over? I'm not understanding. I mean, like, I don't care. Can I go to South Korea without a passport? Are they part of the United States? Why am I protecting them?
Yeah.
What are they doing? What have you done for me lately? South Korea gave me a Kia. Was that what you did?
Well, you know what Canada did for South Korea? They gave them, I guess, Nissan or whatever comes out of that country. They gave them $10 billion to basically build their plant here in Canada. And then we're going to be somehow funding them. Plus, we're going to be importing work from South Korea. And we're going to be funding them throughout the time. And none of these batteries are coming to Canada.
Yep.
They're all going to the States.
Yep. And
we're paying for this.
I know something about that too. I do a lot of mechanics and things like that. And I watch a few different channels. And one guy is talking, he's been a mechanic for 50 years. And he's talking about these electronic vehicles and their batteries. And every couple of weeks, he has a new story. And the last story that I heard from this guy was about how his Nissan was a brand new Nissan. And the guy went out and was driving around, basically pulling it out of the lot, and like a week later, he's taking it on a trip, and there was something in the road, and it just, clunked underneath and hit the undercarriage of the car. And being a concerned, environmental person, he went and took it to a shop, and the shop said he needs a battery replacement because it had a little ding in the underpan. Okay, you need a battery replacement. The insurance company totaled his car because the battery and the battery replacement was something like $42,000, which is more than the car was worth.
Yeah.
And they said, well, if you want it fixed, it's going to be about 3 or 4 months because we don't have the batteries here locally. We have to order them from South Korea. So that's why it's $42,000 for a car that probably cost $38,000 or something like that. So just to replace the battery.
Yeah, that's what this Canadian politician was saying too, is Canada is going to be paying 40% of the cost of these cars, which is basically the entire battery. Now Nissan will take this and sell it at 100% profit. Like they did not pay for the battery, no nothing. We the taxpayers in Canada did this. And they're getting the profit.
Why do you think Elon Musk is so successful?
Yeah, it's a dang good con game.
I mean, the number one selling car in America. And it's like, there would be less than zero profit margin if he actually did not have government funding for all the stuff he's doing.
Yeah.
And all of his BS with SpaceX. It's like, okay, film studio will fake going to space, whatever. That guy's a whatever charlatan. And he's part of the game. It's easy to be mad about that, but if I was Elon Musk, I'd be doing the same thing. If they're going to give me money, all right. And
Yeah, if you want to get rich, get the government involved.
oh yeah, exactly.
Right. That's it.
Well, you got to be part of the club, and Elon's always been part of the club.
Yeah.
But what I do think was nice is that he did take over Twitter and does say, some positive things.
Yeah.
And
so it's kind of tricky with him, right? Like you want to be on his side because of what he's doing with X and the things that he says. Like he was on a live stream with what's that one guy? He used to be a fighter.
Joe Rogan.
Well, no, not even Joe Rogan. This guy, he was in trouble with the police. They arrested him for having underage girls at his house.
Oh yeah, Andrew Tate.
Yeah, Andrew Tate. He was on there with. I don't know why I'm slipping out with all these names, but he was on there with some very controversial people. Alex Jones, and he was just casually talking to them and just letting them know because he let Alex Jones back on my ex, right?
Yeah.
So
I've always hated Elon until he actually did buy Twitter. And what I can hope in the best, the best case scenario in my mind is that Elon knows what he's a part of, and he is trying to funnel the money that he gets, the free money, because money means nothing. Yeah. And he is trying to do an end around a little bit to actually get some good out there. Obviously, he's faking going to space with SpaceX. His Tesla cars are basically 100% government funded. He doesn't really have an actual business. He does apparently work hard. And he buys Twitter and releases all the government things that says, oh, this is how the government's been tracking you and doing all these things. And it's like he's doing an end around on that. And I don't know. I mean, being the fact that I'm never going to buy a Tesla and I don't care about SpaceX, I'm going to have to go kudos to him. Yeah. And one of his most recent interviews, he was on there where he said something and Disney pulled their advertising from Twitter and said that, well, what Elon was saying, we don't want to be associated with whatever it was. Maybe he unbanned Trump or something, and Disney didn't like it.
Well, I think it was Alex Jones.
No, it wasn't Alex Jones. It was actually on like a, not CNN, but the equivalent of a CNN type broadcast.
Okay.
And he was asked about, people pulling their broadcast, pulling their advertising from him. And he goes, well, if people want to try and threaten me with advertising money, they can go F themselves. And, he says, hey, Bob Iger from Disney, he's the CEO. Hey, Bob Iger, go F yourself. Pull your stuff. I don't care.
Dang.
And that's a very famous clip. You can put, in YouTube, Bob Iger, go F yourself, Elon Musk, and it will come right up. And it's like, and the host was like, so, but if your advertisers pull all your sponsorship, what's that mean for your company? He goes, well, it's going to go broke. It's going to go broke. But yeah, he's like, you're not going to hold me hostage to your money. It's like, how do you hold a guy with, $100 billion? How do you hold him hostage with money? He doesn't give a crap.
Yeah. Yeah. What do they call it? Like FU money or something like that?
FU money for me is like 10 grand. I don't know what you're 100 million, 100 billion.
Yeah.
I'm already burning through my FU money at the moment. I couldn't take my job doing what I was doing. And if I was a little less ill or whatever, I would have waited for a couple of months for that. But something will come up and we'll be all right. Bitcoin's at 47,000, so we're doing good. We're doing good.
Oh, that's good.
All right, Frank. When are you going to live stream again, Frank?
Oh man, I was thinking about tonight, but we'll see what happens. Like,
all right.
It sounds like my wife has a bit of a plans for us, but let's see if it goes through.
Cool. Well, we'll check it out if you do. I have to get my own dinner going. I wanted to make this, fairly quick. We'll look at chat here, see if anybody has anything exciting to say. Shepherd's Ambassador, how you doing, Shep? Been paying attention to politics? Yeah, I don't either. Christian Israel news. I can't really talk too much about the Israeli thing because I'll get kicked off YouTube. The Israelis have been hacking my freaking computer like crazy. They just stole $500 from me. I'm pretty sure it was them. Obviously, no proof, but
allegedly, right?
well, there's this thing called, I got like 10 grand or 15 grand stolen from me. And there's this thing called no-click software that Joe Biden said was illegal. You know, where's that laptop, Hunter?
Yeah.
There's no-click software, so they just put in your IP address and they can just see whatever you're doing. And they got my crap that way.
Wow.
I'm sure a lot of other people have that also. The only thing you can do about that, ladies and gentlemen, is you have to run a VPN all the time. If you do not run a VPN, anyone can type your IP address with no-click software and just see what the hell you're doing. Some of them can even interact with your computer system. So just letting people know. That's been out there for a couple of years now. I think I got my shit stolen 3 years ago. So it's been out there for a long time. But it came from Israel and Mossad. That's where it came from. Shepherd's Ambassador, Trump our savior. Yeah. At King's Table, I can't remember, but there is a speech laws in Canada that you can't say anything about homosexuals and you can't call Trudeau a Nazi.
I'm thinking, yeah, and I'm thinking that is true, but I haven't really tested that out, even though I do believe he is. Well, his second in command, Christina Freeland, that's a pretty much guarantee, allegedly. I mean, allegedly. She was apparently an expert on the Ukrainian whole thing there. And her grandfather obviously is one of the people that ran from, the whole thing there. He was affiliated with the Nazis. That's well known. He landed here in Canada, just like the other guy that they put into Parliament. He landed here in Canada safely. They all knew he was a Nazi. But for some odd reason, somebody that's very well knowledged in Ukraine didn't realize that those people that were fighting the Russians were Nazis at that time. So you bring in a war veteran that was fighting the Russians into Parliament because we hate Russians, right?
Oh, so, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so they bring a guy.
There was a big to-do about that in America.
Yeah, it was like a national embarrassment for Canada.
Yeah, that's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah,
I think he was an SS officer or something.
Yeah, he was one of the most brutal. Apparently, he was of the regimes in Ukraine. He was one.
He wasn't just a Nazi. He was an SS officer.
Yeah, he was a brutal guy.
Yeah,
but this country where he did most of his war crimes, told Canada they want him shipped back to be held for war crimes. I have not yet heard anything whether or not they're going to ship this guy back.
They're never going to ship the guy back.
Oh, no. They're going to keep their Nazi nice and safe.
Yep.
But besides all that, like this expert, Christina Freeland, who knows all these things about Ukraine, overlooked this fact, right? It's like, what the world is going on here?
Well, that whole Ukraine, when the war started a couple of years ago, I'm pretty sure I made a video or a stream about it going like, so we're financing the Nazis.
Yeah.
I mean, like 6 months ago, Ukraine was touted as being the most corrupt, literally the most corrupt organization that's in the world as far as their government goes. And there was all sorts of headlines about how bad they are. And then as soon as the war starts, because we apparently don't like Russians, I don't have a problem with Russians.
I've never had any problem.
We don't like Russians. Now all of a sudden the Ukrainians are the Jesus riding and walking on water with a little SS patch on their.
Yeah, you can't even accidentally find a fighter that's not wearing an SS tattoo or some kind of a symbol, right?
And you know what? I meant to do videos about this because I really kind of care about, what's going on in Ukraine because the people are getting kind of slaughtered. And like I'm watching some dumb Americans who think that it's Call of Duty went to Ukraine to go fight. And I wanted to do a breakdown of what these people are talking about. And this particular individual was like 24, 25 years old and actually was recruited by Azov Battalion, which is the Nazi battalion, and went out there and they had all they're the Nazi battalion, all the tanks, all the guns, all the stuff. And he talked about, we rode out there and they picked up, everybody blew up around him. Every single person blew up around him, and he doesn't know how in the hell he survived. And then he went out and was holding the line, and he just got shelled for like 3 days straight by Russian artillery. And then because these people are volunteers, they can kind of go whenever they want to. But he's like, oh, this is craziness. It's not, he said he never shot his rifle. He never, ever saw the enemy. Everything just exploded around him. You know, a huge armored column with like a couple thousand troops. Everybody just disintegrated around him. And that's a far cry from what anything you're going to hear about on the news.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But it's all those dirty Russians, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And even Canada, like what they were saying is we have about if Canada was to go to war, we have about 3 days.
Oh, God, what are you going to do? Throw socks at them?
We have literally 3 days worth of ammunition to fight. Like, what the world is going on?
How about that hockey stick, eh? We're going to hit the pucks. Watch the slap shot.
We are just the most pathetic country right now. It's unbelievable.
Everybody depends on America, and Canada depends on America to defend them.
Well, 100%. Yeah, and I think that's the reason why. It's just we could do this kind of stuff because if Russia was to come to invade Canada, I mean, America would help right away because there's no way they're going to let Russia be right beside America, right?
Unfortunately, Russia would kick the crap out of everybody right now.
Yeah, I can totally see that too, yeah.
But they're not going to do that. They just want to get rid of the Nazis in Ukraine, and that's what they're doing. And, their war is like I think we've already talked about this, but their war is a legal war. They've been fighting this thing since 2014, where Ukraine has just been shelling Russian cities for no apparent reason.
Yeah,
that are part of Ukraine, but they're Russian people. And this like the Donbass, Crimea, Odessa, and these different areas voted to say we want to be a part of Russia. And once that went through, Russia's like, okay, well, now it's our duty to go protect these people. And that's why the whole reason for the invasion was. And the fact that Ukraine wasn't holding up to their part of the treaty.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And so far, they've taken the territories of the people who actually want to be part of Russia. That's what they're taking and holding. They set up their defensive lines, and man, they're slaughtering Ukrainians left and right, though. I think they have about 600,000 men dead. And that's not counting casualties. That's 600,000 dead. And now they're getting like old men and women to go fight, pregnant women to go fight in the front lines. And like, this is bad times, man. It's bad times. But nobody cares about that because Israel owns the government. So we send all our weapons now to Israel so they can blow up innocent people in a concentration camp called the Gaza Strip.
Well, just hold on. It's coming to America. I do believe I'm not going to say 100% certain, but I think that there's a high probability that the Democrats know that there is zero chance of winning this election without a major interference of some sort, right? Or rigging the election in a major way. That's going to be so blatantly obvious.
They won't be able to rig it.
Yeah. But they would if they could, but they know they can't. So I believe they're going to try to make a civil war happen.
Right. There isn't probably going to be an election. I can't say that it's probable, but I can see we've got Cooties 2059, right?
Yeah.
Where the Cooties come out and they have the space mask and the helmet and they come down from space and the Cooties attack people. And then it's going to be a national emergency and we can't possibly have elections. It's going to be maybe something like that but the other things too is Trump really can't run because he's getting indicted by like 50 counts of fraud and BS. I mean,
yeah.
Then you've got RFK, what's he going to do? But nobody is voting for Joe Biden either. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting mess. But at the end of the day, nothing is going to change.
No.
Because the only way anything is going to change is if Trump actually gets back in.
Yeah.
Because he actually has some experience and actually knows who his enemies are. If he's true to his word and he's not just playing, he knows who his enemies are. He knows who to get rid of. And there's nothing he would have to care about because it's his second term. He can do whatever he wants. So that's the only way that I can see anything will happen. But honestly, I just hope that the whole shit show of the economy collapses, because everything can get rebooted and reset, and obviously that's going to come. Oh, well, we got to have the CBDC and we have to have all this stuff now. And it's like, well, better now than, it's better to reset faster.
Yeah.
If it's going to happen, I mean, it's going to happen. It's just going to happen. And I'd rather have it reset now so that people's labor is valued like what it should be.
But okay, let's just say if it resets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is the WEF plan, a reset. Mm-hmm. So who takes charge after this reset?
Well, they think they will, but the problem is now that you have Russia and Putin is not part of WEF. So you have this entire Eastern Bloc that has their own economy and their own system set up. So when the world is all centered around the United States and the United States prints the money for the rest of the world and everybody's got to go and bend the knee to the United States, then you actually have some control.
Yeah. But
when half of the world is teamed up with your enemy, I've never considered a Russian in my life my enemy, ever. With this group's teamed up with the enemy, and the West has proven itself to be really limp dick, right? I mean, not NAFTA, what the hell is it? NATO, North American Treaty Alliance, has proven itself to be so pathetic that who would want to be a part of it? So the United States can try to reset things all they want to, but really all they're doing is crashing themselves. The United States is toast. These other countries that are pulling on with China and Russia are actually have a better shot. And China's of course already has their CBDC and they already have all this stuff, but that's not the entire BRICS that they call it. Like South Africa is not like that. South Africa actually is the number one user of Bitcoin for regular day-to-day transactions. So it's an entirely different economy system that has nothing to do with the United States. So the United States craps out. Europe is already crashing, but Europe is going to fall too because they're all dependent on the United States.
Yeah.
And I don't see how they can implement something like that without having any sort of financial backing. And because America does not really, we produce things. I mean, everyone says America doesn't build anything anymore. It's like, no, we build stuff, but our primary export is our dollar. Yeah. And if nobody wants our dollar, now we're going to fall back on what? Shoes?
Nike.
That's all made in Somalia.
Yeah.
America has really good steel. We feed the earth 3 times over in our corn production in the Midwest. So we've got our corn, but hey, Russia's got that too. Mm-hmm. We have lots of oil. Russia's got that too. We do have some rare earths and stuff like that, but we really don't have anything. So your economy goes from basically being able to print money to actually have to work for a living. And guess what? Now you're making $4 an hour trying to buy a $450 loaf of bread. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens, but I have to get some chicken in the oven. We'll read a couple of last questions here, and hopefully you'll go on later on tonight, and we'll check you out. Kimberly O'Connor, visit the desert, but you can keep the scorpions. Scorpions ain't bad. They're not that harmful. Kimberly and Bacon Toast. Frank, how's it going? All right. It's all good. All right, man. I'm going to cook dinner. It was great having you on.
Yeah, it was nice talking to you again.
It's good to talk some politics.
Yeah.
Eye to eye. Over there, I can throw a snowball at you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If I'm ever on, and you feel like jumping in, just let me know. I'll shoot
Man,
the
when I
link
see
up.
you, I'll definitely do that.
Awesome.
All right.
All
Thanks everyone else for being on here. God bless. Take care, and have a good dinner.
Yeah, God bless.
See you next time. Bye.